Hey all, Ned here. Today, if you're a dad or a soon-to-be dad or even just a family man, give me a few minutes of your time today so I can try to help you uh, for some betterment with a little bit of words of wisdoms here. So, this setup that I have now, I'm very blessed and fortunate to have. But I've been seeing a lot of things popping up in my feed about these people saying how much money they've spent and all this sort of stuff. And guys, I'll be honest with you, you don't have to do that. You don't have to spend very much money at all. I mean, if you've got a controller to play, I did a video a little while back just showing that you can get into racing games with a controller and a cheap laptop. I'll pin it up here somewheres. Um, but what I want to talk to you about now is how your hobbies and stuff like that can bring you closer to your children and stuff. So my son, whom of course he's my son, love him to death. He a long time ago, I bought this G27 I have like over a decade ago, and then some. And I pulled it out one day, and him and I were playing with it in the living room, and just had an absolute blast. But I tore up the living room. I made a mess. Stuff was everywhere, so not everybody in the house was happy about it. Well, fast forward quite a few years, and up until about 6-ish months ago, I'm digging around in our hallway closet looking for my G27 because I've been playing Dirt Rally, and I want something a little better. I want something with a little more feel. And I'm like, I've got that G27 in the closet, so I go digging it out. My son is like, Dad, what are you doing? So tell him what I'm doing, and he's like, oh, cool. When you get it set up, can I play with you? I'm like, yeah, sure. It probably won't be tonight. It was like on a Thursday afternoon or something like that. I just gotten home from work. It wasn't gonna happen that night. So get it set up that night. Play with it a little bit. Don't quite have it dialed in, but I'm getting there. Fast forward a few days, and him and I sit down and we play it. And him and I, if we play like single player games, stuff like that, we'll kind of go back and forth. I'll have a go. Dad will set, whatever score, whatever, and then he'll have a go. And that's what we were doing. And him and I had probably been doing this for 4 or 5 hours at this point. I mean, the day was gone. I mean, we just had an absolute blast. And that's whenever I did this video right here that I'm going to let play in the background here in a minute. You can go back and watch it without my commentary over it from one of the it's from like 6 months ago. Just go check for it. But my beautiful, wonderful wife saw that me and my son are playing this and enjoying it, and I basically just had this G27 set up at my desk and had the pedals on the floor. And if you've ever used like G27 or pedals on a floor, you'll know that they shift and move around a little bit. And I'm using a rolling chair. It's not ideal. So she encourages me to do a better setup or something like that. Well, that's whenever I found my advanced sim racing 1 rig for pretty cheap. It wasn't really on sale, but it was cheap enough. So I picked it up, and if you go back and look in a couple of my earlier videos, you'll see where I've got my G27 setting on here, playing with it and stuff like that, and it did fantastic. I bought a couple shifters. I don't know if I can't get it in frame, but I bought a couple shifters and just started having a good old time. Got some better pedals, things like that. But I want to tell you, this video right here has eluded me. I can't beat my time on here, and I have tried. Boy, I've tried. But besides that, I'll let it play in the background here. So, my wife encouraging me to get this new setup and everything like that has really kind of helped out me bring our children into my hobby, and we've just had a blast with it, really. We'll sit down, we'll do the same sort of thing. And, I've even gotten into other games like Assetto Corsa Competizione, iRacing, stuff like that. And we just really had a good old time. Boy, that poor old sign. Um, but really, what I the crux of this video is that I've been seeing all this stuff going around the internet of you gotta have this amazing rig, you gotta have the sim rig, you gotta have your shifters and your wheels and all this sort of stuff. You gotta have the highest end whatever. And I'll be honest with you, you don't. You really don't. I I would contend that I was faster with my G27 at sometimes than I am my new setup. And if you guys want to, I'll give you a tour of the setup. But you don't have to have it all. There's guys out there racing on the old G25s, and even something that's not even really got that much force feedback, and they're beating the pants off of all the rest of us. But like, this video right here, I made with a G27, with a G27 wheel, G27 pedals, and I mean, I set such a blistering pace with this. I haven't been able to beat it yet. I don't know if it's just I'm not used to this direct drive stuff, but yeah, I still can't beat it. But I'll tell you what, I haven't done it with the kind of competition that I had. You see, this very road with this very car and stuff like that, me and my son haven't sat down and tried to beat the pace that we did here. And I'm willing to bet that if I got my son down here and we did this exact same thing again, I might be able to beat it. He might be able to beat me for all I know. But basically, I just kind of want to encourage you guys. You don't have to have the $1,000 wheelbases. You don't even have to have a direct drive wheelbase. You don't have to have the best shifters. You don't have to have the most amazing wheels. I've got the base Moza wheel over here that works just fine with this R21. Frankly, the only time I ever turned this R21 all the way up is in iRacing, and that's just because so it can use all of it for other stuff. I have it turned down to like 30% most of the time. So, that would be in the realm of, what, like an R5 with a booster pack? That's fine. And honestly, you can use my old G27 and do just fine. So, these people that have these big rigs and stuff like that, if you don't have the room or the time for it, who cares? I guarantee you, if you took some time to learn your rig and dedicate to it a little bit, to this hobby, you'd beat about anybody. I guarantee you. Because with the G27, man, just once you get to learn that thing and understand it, know it, and get it all dialed in. And I haven't played with the new Logitech wheels they sell. Those are probably fantastic. We don't need to see this commercial or whatever here. But what I'm saying is that, basically, you don't need all that, guys. You really don't. You don't need all that stuff. So, anybody out there that says you have to have a direct drive wheel, you have to have whatever, ignore it. You don't have to have all that. Just if all you got is a controller and a cheap laptop, that's enough. That's enough for me for a long time. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I've got a wheel in the closet that I bought over a decade ago. And I went and grabbed it. And me and my son had a blast. And it was a good way to introduce my son into my hobby. And for us all to have a good time. And even my wife, she plays it occasionally. Our daughter, she plays it. But what I'm saying is if you get nothing else from this video, it's not the games that matters, it's not the times, it's not the winning, it's not any of that sort of stuff. It's simply the fact of enjoying the time with your family while you got it, and sharing, your hobbies with your children and helping them to enjoy it, because your kids need that. So I don't get any parenting tips or anything like that, but all I'm saying is if you've got a good, enjoyable hobby that your kids show interest in, show them. Maybe they'll learn something from it. So, you guys have a wonderful day.